Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I did that in the wrong order, but we are hanging out with your boy Galaxy on Comic-Con Radio, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am Zach Barrick, an actor, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
That was so good. Hey, sorry I'm late. Happy.
You look nice.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. New dress?
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
What just happened?
Planning a trip?
Mm-hmm. Going to Europe. It's a school trip.
Did you get your passport?
Peter Parker here to pick up a passport, please.
Mini toothpaste?
Mm-hmm.
Pack your suit.
I just want to go on my trip with my friends. Europe doesn't really need a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You look really pretty.
Therefore, I have value.
No, that's not
I'm
right.
messing with you. You look pretty too.
I just want to spend some time with MJ. I think she really likes me, dude.
That reminds me when I first fell in love. I had just finished my food call.
So nice to finally meet you, Spider-Man.
You're Nick Fury.
Put some clothes on. Let's go for a ride.
Is he gonna be okay like that?
Might want to turn him over so he doesn't swallow his tongue.
I think Nick Fury just hijacked our summer vacation.
Awesome! You got gifts, Parker, but you have a job to do. Are you going to step up or not?
You're all alone. Your friends are in trouble. What are you going to do about it?
You don't want any part of this.
Who is that guy?
He's like Iron Man and Thor rolled into one.
He's no Spider-Man.
What is it with you and Spider-Man?
What? He looks out for the neighborhood, has a dope suit, and I really respect him. Sup, dickwad?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing in for Comic-Con Radio. Coverage of pop culture events from around the globe. Amazing interviews with celebrities. Daily recaps and reviews of popular television. Movie reviews. Everything Comic-Con and fandom from around the globe. Comic-Con Radio. Get ready to enter our universe. Let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is your boy Galaxy, and I'm back after an amazing week at San Diego Comic-Con, or a stressful week, sometimes tiring, but ultra amazing. Today, we have our, well, not our first guest of the week, but one of our first guests of the week. His recent movie is Spider-Man Far From Home. We have Zach Barrick. Zach, what's up, buddy? How are you? Welcome to Comic-Con Radio.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
So what's up, man? Did you go to Comic-Con?
I did. It was my first time ever at Comic-Con. We were filming in New York when New York Comic-Con was going on, so I went for 10 minutes because traffic is a nightmare. But this was my first time really getting to do the Comic-Con thing.
Nice. How did it feel when you're walking through those halls and everywhere?
Amazing. You know, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't realize how incredibly large the convention center was, or how many vendors were going to be there, or, comic book, organizations and everything. And it was amazing. It was really cool to get to see all the studios, especially like studios that I had thought I was the only person that knew, and then you got to see people lining up for them, and you were like, thank God they're going to stay in business because I love them, And so, yeah, it was really amazing. I really touched my heart to see how much it meant to people and how much it meant to myself.
That's really cool. So it was your first time. You saw the grandeur of how Comic-Con is and how the fans are. And did you feel like a big energy when people ran up to you and they were like, hey, let me get your autograph?
Yeah, I had never had that happen before. And right when I did a panel on Thursday with Boom Comics, And I got there like really close to right when I needed to be there because, again, traffic. And I sort of like ran in, and I was running from entrance to entrance. They were like, no, the like talent entrance is over here, here, here. And then finally I found like the person I was supposed to be with. And right at that moment, like a girl came up and was like, can I get a picture? And it's kind of like one of the first times that's happened to me. So it was really surreal, you know, and it meant something to me because I know how important this role was in my life. And so knowing that someone else noticed it, knowing that someone else found meaning in it was important to me. You know what I mean? It touched me and I wasn't expecting to get as emotional as I felt.
That's pretty cool. That must have been something that, like you said, you never felt before, especially when another human being comes up to you and gives you so much respect and love and support. That's really a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Now, you have to understand that because it was your first time, you think you're not going to feel that way again, but you are. I think every time you go to a convention and every time you're going to do something, you're going to keep feeling that moment. And I think maybe at one point, years from now, you're going to get used to it, but it's always so exhilarating and amazing, especially your first one was at San Diego, which people call the Mecca of all conventions.
Yeah.
It was probably glorifying for you.
Yeah, and it meant, you know, it wasn't just that someone came up and said, you know, can I take a picture? It was like the whole experience of it was, and it, you know, it happened a few times throughout the Comic-Con, and which I was also not kind of expecting, but, you know, the very first experience of it was so amazing because she was like, well, first of all, she said my last name right, as you did, which is thank you for doing that, because a lot of people look at it and they think Barack, you know, so that meant that she had like seen my, you know, my like information before and that she really knew who I was, and that was meaningful. And then she was like, is it okay if I put my arm around you? Is it okay if I take a selfie? Like, just so much respect. It's like clear that she wanted to like, you know, follow some etiquette, that she wanted to make sure I was comfortable, but also that it was, you know, but that she also wanted the picture. And so it was like this combination of like, wow, you're a really amazing person and you really want to respect me, but like also you like care about getting a picture with me. You know what I mean? So like, it's cool that the people who want anything to do with me are cool people, you know?
That's really nice. And that's good that you experienced such an amazing event and time and you had so much fun. Now, you know, your recent movie, Spider-Man, what an amazing movie. How does it feel being part of such a huge brand?
You know, it was amazing. This is my first experience pretty much ever doing any acting job, except for I did a social work video once. But it was definitely my first time doing a major production, and it was amazing. You know, I felt at first kind of like a fish out of water. You know, I was really like nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And then as soon as I got there, like the wonderful people on the cast and crew were like, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of you. And they weren't kidding, you know. There was no moment of floundering. As soon as I met everybody, like I was floundering, and then I met people, and suddenly I felt at ease, you know. My friends in the cast were kind, were able to teach me the basics, the etiquette, sort of how to interact with folks, how to, you know, and the best part was, I think, that it never felt like I was getting lessons. It just sort of felt like I was learning from, you know what I mean, them like kind of slyly giving me pointers. You know, it wasn't condescending. It was, you know, so it was amazing. It was really amazing.
That's wonderful. Okay, go back to the day when you got that phone call that you got on Spider-Man. Close your eyes, go back to that day. Who was the first person that told you you made it on Spider-Man, the movie?
So my now manager and agent actually called me together, and I had never talked to Adam, who's my agent now. I'd never spoken to him once before. So, like, I heard this, like, new voice on the phone, and I was like, there's just a stranger on the phone call with me. And I heard, do you want to tell him or should I? And then I realized I was on a sneak attack three-way call, like in Mean Girls. And I was like, what's happening? And they were like, yeah, you got it. And I remember, like, kind of, like, not really believing it, and I'm an extremely anxious person, so everything that could happen between me getting my passport, between me getting to London, between me getting all of the things started running through my head, and it wasn't until, again, you know, I really sat in the green room with the cast for the first time that I was like, holy cow, you know, this is real, this is unbelievable, and this could change everything, you know?
Just hearing that intense energy in your voice, the excitement, I could really feel the day that you heard about it, and it must have been really cool.
Yeah, I was bursting, yeah, absolutely.
So you get the call from your new agent, which you never spoke to before. It was probably all via email before that. Now you got to roll on Spider-Man, so you must have done something so good and impressed someone that you get a role on such an amazing movie platform. You get that call, they ambush you on a phone call. call. You're like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, you're on a plane going to who knows where. How did that feel, that moment?
Amazing. Actually, the beautiful thing about Comic-Con this year was that a couple days off, but like almost, or about a month off, but almost a year ago to the day that Comic-Con was, I was in San Diego overnighting a passport because I had not gotten a passport in years, not since I was a minor, so I needed to get one. And I overnighted a passport at the San Diego passport agency. Like, I drove down from LA because I heard it was like the fastest one. And I overnighted it, and it happened like that, and I had no issues, but it was kind of beautiful to it felt like a full circle moment, like last year at this time I was here at the same exact place, freaking out about whether or not I was going to make it to London in time to shoot this thing, and now I'm here, so wow. It was beautiful. It was, yeah.
It's a full circle. It's a full circle. A
year
later, 12 months later. At that point, you were worried about shooting. Now you're at Comic-Con. It all happens for a reason. Everything. It's called destiny, right. And it's amazing to hear that. So, are you a United States native?
I am, yes. I'm from the northern suburbs of Chicago.
Nice. So how did it feel growing up there?
It was interesting. I grew up in a town that when I was a kid, it felt really like a good fit to some degree. And then as I got older, I was like, starting to grow in a different direction than I felt like was sort of, because I was in a town that was kind of funny. So we're Jewish and I'm queer, and I grew up in a town that was like very Irish Catholic. Like, we had Our Lady of Perpetual Help in the center, like smack dab in the center of our town, and all the kids went there. And so it was always sort of this weird experience of being like, I know that I'm in the minority here, and and not knowing how to talk about what was going on inside. And so it was a mix, because Chicago's this amazing, beautiful city. It has like a really rich history, especially of folks coming to it from all different places. But it's a complicated city. It's very segregated, and it's got issues in terms of administration and consistently. And so I think growing up in a suburb of it gave me a weird perspective of, there is a really beautiful aspect to culture and being immersed in sort of different experiences, but also it can be really scary being an outsider. And it didn't really sink in until I was getting older, because I don't think I really became aware of the differences until I started to become older and started realizing I'm going to have to deal with this stuff,
And that's when you decided to move?
Well, I actually, through a series of craziness, ended up at a boarding school in Northern Virginia, for high school. And when I was there, it was a very progressive environment, and it really allowed me to sort of explore different concepts, conversations that were not happening at my old high school, be around people, because everybody was there to meet either like from out of state. There were a lot of students from different places, because it was a boarding school, so people came from all over. And it was kind of my first time being around other queer people, other people who were not, of the majority, and it was good. It was important.
That's really cool. You got to experience things the way you wanted. Nothing's perfect, but you're where you're at, and it's perfect situation, and you're doing amazing, and everything leads to something, and now you're a star on a Marvel hit movie. There you go.
Exactly, yeah. No, I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky. I'm so fortunate, because, not everybody does get out and do that. Not everybody does get to get out of their crappy town or whatever. And it wasn't crappy, I was very lucky, but, not everybody gets the chance to sort of try other things. And so I was very fortunate that I had that, and that my parents, ended up backing me on everything in the end, even though I think they were very nervous when I came out to LA, sort of like, guys, I hope I can be an actor. I think they were like, oh, back another thing. But, it worked out. It worked out really well.
So you're also into comedy, and you sing as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, my sophomore year of college, kind of been going through a lot, like after high school, just because I didn't really know what I wanted or what to do, and I was having a hard time making the leap to come out to California. It felt really far away, and I had been at boarding school for 4 years, and I was like, now I'm going to be even further away from my family. But the real thing was that I was kind of held back by fear. And so, coming out here, I was really nervous, and sort of fell into this stand-up comedy group at my school, at my college, and we started doing shows together, and the place we were doing shows liked us so much, they gave us a monthly show, and I don't know, it started to instill a sort of confidence in me, because there's nothing that sort of breaks you down and builds you up more than really putting yourself out there on stage. I mean, comedy gives you a chance to sort of relive moments that you wish you had done differently and do them better. And there have been so many times, like as a queer person, or even as a Jewish person, frankly, in the entertainment industry, but also just in life, where I've wanted to say something and I've been held back by fear. And I think getting a chance to get up in front of more people than just, in those interactions, it's usually one-on-one, and I'm so afraid, but then I can get up in front of 60, 50, whatever people and say something even crazier, than I wanted to in that moment. It's really freeing. It feels like 1,000,000 pounds off my back, and also it feels really good to interact with other people and laugh with other people. I don't think there's anything better than that. I really love it. I love comedy. And with music, I love writing music a lot for similar reasons, but also because I think music for me has always felt very personal. I think it's really easy when you have stuff, when you have like anxiety or when you're like, you feel like an outsider at times, to really like become avoidant. And I think music sort of pushes me to not do that. It pushes me. It's distant enough from the real world that it allows you to interact with your feelings in sort of a safe way. And I always thought that was really beautiful. And yeah, I sort of fell into it and never stopped.
That's amazing that you have so many different outlets to express yourself, to get pressure out.
Yeah.
And you're a support system for others now. I bet you so many people look up to you and keep up the momentum, keep it going. So what's next for you? What's the new projects coming up?
Well, I just finished doing a TEDx, which I'm really, really proud of. It was an exercise in vulnerability, because I think the thing with comedy is that I can kind of say nonsense sometimes and get away with it. But this sort of had to matter. It was so funny. I got this call, and it was like, "Do you want to do a TEDx?" And I was like, "Me?" It was like, I'm goofy, right? Like, I don't know that I'm qualified. Like, I got there, and I realized that we were all equally nervous, and we all felt sort of equally unqualified, but we all had really good stories to tell. And my now really good friend, Blair Amani, who is, she's an activist, she's a queer Muslim activist. I had watched her speak on television, multiple times, and I had watched her, thrive on the internet, and even she was, nervous, and I was like, oh, so we are all going through it, but we're doing it together. But it was a really good exercise in vulnerability, and it ended up paying off, and I've gotten really good feedback on it. And it was also a chance to sort of, combine comedy with the real stuff, and really talk about the real stuff. But also in September, I am featured in the Transparent musical finale. I'm so dying to see. I literally can't wait. I think it's going to be incredible. It felt incredible to be a part of it. It was magic. It was heart. It was family and love. And I've never walked into a setting and so immediately felt like I belonged. So it was really incredible. And I can't wait for the world to see it. I think it's, even for people who haven't seen the show, I think it's a really immersive, easy to understand and jump into movie.
So you're keeping so busy. Do you think by getting on the Spider-Man movie, it's opened a ton of new doors that wouldn't have opened before?
Yeah, and there's absolutely still, with acting, there's an uncertainty. That's my main focus right now. I do love comedy and music, but my focus right now is acting, and there's obviously, if I'm being completely honest, there's so much uncertainty and vulnerability in this career, because you just don't know what's next sometimes. But I have been so incredibly fortunate and had such good people behind me and backing me, and a team that I'm really proud to say is my team. And I can't ask for more than that. And there's this sort of beautiful thing that happens when you are sort of in the moments in between. The moments that are scary, where you're like, what's next? Where you realize, I have a lot of other things to do right now. I have a lot to keep busy with, and also a lot of people that I love and trust very much. And so even when I'm not doing things, it kind of feels like I'm doing things, So it's been a really good growing period for me, and I haven't felt like I've stopped since I started. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's opened 1,000,000 doors.
That's so good to hear. I always get so happy when I see that this opened or that opened from one door, and you get to start expressing yourself, you get to meet others, you get to really say what you feel, because these days it's very important to speak up, to have a voice for something. There's so many advantages and opportunities, from like social media to this to that. So that's amazing that you're taking advantage of that, and you're doing it on multiple type of mediums. So you're a true artist, and your artistry comes through comedy and acting. Maybe you're a painter as well, or you probably draw. We don't know that. We'll probably know that in the future. You probably do. Do you? Do you draw? Do you paint?
Yeah, I used to doodle in math class, because I had I had a bad attention span. But, not seriously. Although, you never know.
You never know. You never know what can happen and what might not happen.
Right.
But that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm speaking with you and I'm hearing this big burst of energy. Are you like this all the time?
Yeah. I think I'm a very energetic person. My favorite part of this whole thing has honestly been interviews. I know some people get sick of them or whatever, but I think that I've been waiting my whole life to gush about the things that are important to me. And the fact that someone wants to listen to that feels really important, especially because it is often tinged with personal experience and struggle or even good stuff. Like, for example, when I got back from the movie, all I wanted to talk about was my friends and how amazing they are and talented, and how incredible the movie was. And now there are people who are like really excited to hear that, and that's so amazing because, I love talking to people and I love hearing other people's stuff, and they want to hear my stuff, and there's nothing better than that. I'm a very natural extrovert with a lot of energy, and I need places to put it, and I'm really grateful that people are giving me the space for that, So, I'm kind of, sometimes I am firing in all cylinders, I guess.
That's pretty cool, because I do that sometimes as well. And then sometimes I get calm, and sometimes I go really high energy, but that's just part of life. And it's good to be on all cylinders because people need that. Many people I chat with are so quiet, and they just sit there, and I'm like, man, what do I have to do? I got to like yell and scream, but that's great. You have a good energy to yourself, and I think people are feeding off of that. Use that, man. Use that. Grow with that. Make it happen, and do it. So, gotta ask you a question. When you were a kid, was acting something you wanted to do? What was like your childhood dream?
So I've always wanted to do acting and music. I didn't know I was going to want to do comedy until I got older, but acting always felt really important because I did theater as a kid a little bit here and there in my community theater, and then I did a little bit in high school, and I realized, sort of similar to how I felt in comedy, there was something about there's a balance, because you have the distance between you and sort of the people that are watching you, but also this intense connectedness. I remember the first time I did theater in high school specifically, because that's when I started to get bigger roles and stuff. We did Footloose my junior year, and I'm not a great dancer. I got to be Willard though, who his whole character arc is he can't dance, and it was like I felt seen, by myself, by the audience, by the people I was working with. I got to really tell, like, sort of weirdly, like, my story, but also help other people tell their stories because, the story's bigger and it's about freedom and letting loose and sort of fighting repression. And it was like this feeling of like, oh, this is maybe what I'm supposed to do because I really get to be myself here. I really get to know what I want to do forever, sort of. When I'm on stage, it feels like it doesn't end. And I think that was sort of when it clicked, that I was like, I could do this for the rest of my life and would be fine. I'd be so happy. So, yeah, it was a dream that sort of evolved over time.
So what advice can you give someone coming up in acting, someone that's seen your struggle, someone that's having hard times, someone that's having no hard times? Just pure advice. What can you give them?
Yeah, in a very real way, I think authenticity is super important. Like, I think when I first started an interview or when I first started getting on set, I feel so tight, like, you know what I mean? And then within like a few minutes of just saying what's really on your mind, there's something really honest that happens in terms of how you connect with people and with the material. And I don't know, I think that, it's really easy to get lost in your anxieties. It's a profession that is very connected to validation, but also sometimes can be lacking it. Which sounds silly because I know there are people that like really support you in life. Like, there are fans, but I think on a one-on-one basis, sometimes you can really get in your head. And so I would say it's about getting out of your head. I think it's about taking moments to be really mindful of what's around you. Like sometimes I do like it's going to sound really cheesy, but like sit down and just like look at things in the room and I'm like, there's a couch, there's a window, and because you have to remind yourself you're not the only thing in the room. Remind yourself that there's a whole world and that everybody's rooting for you. Everybody wants you to do well. Everybody's on your team. Everybody wants to make a good product. And then it just sort of starts to feel natural and it starts to feel, and you have to be easy on yourself and nice to yourself and kind, and hydrate. So yeah, I think it's about loving yourself and that is not an easy thing to do. And I don't say that flippantly, and I'm not throwing that around in a cheesy way. In a very genuine way. It is about making active choices to demonstrate to yourself that you want yourself to be well. You know what I mean? Not punishing yourself for every decision you make. There's actually this really neat concept I've recently been introduced to called acceptance and commitment therapy, which is basically just about like when you have a feeling, like just going through life, but actively having the feeling, like not combating it, not trying to do like thought-stopping processes, but just being like, here's my feeling, and I'm going to keep doing life even though I have the feeling. And it's been really freeing because it's like now I'm sort of starting to like, you know what I mean, the feelings, no matter how they present themselves.
Hey, that's great advice. And I want the listeners out there to really listen to that and really take it to the heart. And I love it when my guests give advice like that because it comes from someone else's struggles and someone else's pain and someone else's experiences. And that's true grit, true reality. That's it right there. It's really cool to hear. Is there anything you want to tell the fans out there? What you want to do? What's going to be happening soon? Anything to look out for?
Yeah, definitely check out Transparent because I think everybody that worked on it is amazing. It's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be beautiful. Look out for, I would really appreciate if people checked out my TEDx, something I worked very hard on. And yeah, and just keep an eye out for me. I'm going to be pushing and working hard. And there's a couple, there'll be a little bit of press here and there. And yeah, so, just social media is a good place to keep updated, though, for sure. That's an easy place to look if you want to keep updated on me, I guess.
And you have Instagram and Twitter. And on Instagram, how can they reach you?
At Zach, Z-A-C-H, last name Barack, B-A-R-A-C-K. It is spelled like Barack, but it is not Barack. And the Twitter is the same. So, yeah, they're both Zach Barack on Twitter and Instagram.
So on Twitter is Zach Barack, and on Instagram is at Zach Barack. Both the same. It's Zach Barack everywhere. And that's how they get to reach you. They can comment, they could DM, they can ask you questions. I know you have a good heart. You're going to reach back out. But please be kind. Do not send naughty pictures. Only ask cool questions.
There's a lot of bots. Like, I'm getting a lot of bots being like, hey, open my sexy pictures. And I'm like, I'm good. The robot revolution is happening in a sneaky way.
Oh, this is the beginning, man. This is the beginning. You just opened your doors. You're gonna get you got years ahead of you and millions of fans ahead of you. So it's gonna happen. And you're going to learn what's up, and it's going to go from there, and it's going to be exciting, and you're going to enter this universe that you just started at Comic-Con, and who knows where it might go, but it's exciting. Take every day at a time, and give your Zach Barack sensibility to it, and great things will happen.
Thank you so much. Look, you can't imagine how much I appreciate that advice and everything and all your time and for reaching out. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on the show. And Zach, with that said, we're going to be signing out. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Zach Barack. We had him on the show. Go check him out. Spider-Man, Far From Home. Also check him out on all his new projects. Go to Twitter, go to Instagram at Zach Barack, and send him a nice little message and say what's up. Check him out in other interviews and wherever else he might be in the future. We would love to have him back on in the future to talk about all the latest projects and things like that. But for right now, we are ready to sign out. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is your boy Galaxy with Zach Barack on another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. And Zach, are you ready to blow kisses to the whole universe?
Absolutely.
Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Let's blow a million kisses to everybody.
Mwah.
There you go. Take those kisses and give them back if you like to Zach. Go to Twitter, Instagram at Zach Barack. Again, check Spider-Man Far From Home. You can watch him there with all the other classmates. And we're signing out. Peace.
Bye.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing out from another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Tune in for your daily shows of Comic-Con Radio. Go to comiccon-radio.com. Reach us on social media. Instagram at Comic-Con Radio. Comic-Con Radio, taking the world one listener at a time.